week two of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar is almost over, and it has been a really rock'em sock'em few days. We also have a bit of rock'em sock'em from a local league well, we'll leave that till the second half of the show. And of course, we're going to preview tonight's Do or Die. This is go hard or go home for Germany. And do they deserve to stay in the World Cup? Well, many people believe no. I'm always willing to give them a chance. I'd rather see them go forward in Spain and at least get humiliated later on in the tournament. Some big games today already. Some big results, of course. We know Croatia have kept moving forward and doing what they always do at this stage, and that is basically looking good and annoying people with their play. The big one, of course, good for CONCACAF. Costa Rica shocking us all by beating Japan 1-0. The Africans are at it. They beat, Morocco beat Belgium 2-0 today. And of course, a huge amount of controversy surrounding Iran. We're going to speak about that right away with our three of my co-hosts for this evening, Andrew Flint, Andrew Isa, and Isel Cody. Andrew, first of all, well, I congratulate us all because on Friday night we did say that it could be a draw, could be on the cards between the US and England. So we got that one right. To Andrews, and well, Andrew, I'll start with you. How surprised were you and how impressed were you with Team USA?
Oh, I said a couple of days ago it was all about being brave, and I think they were early on, especially. Again, we've just struggled to put away any chances, but I was surprised a bit at the England midfield and how they really didn't establish any dominance for any period, over just a minute or two throughout the game. It seems pretty even in the midfield. And I was worried about the English attack the whole way. But, the result doesn't mean anything for the U.S. really, but it's a good confidence booster to feel like you can go head-to-head with the English and really a deserved draw, I think.
Yeah, it felt like a win, Andrew Flint, because realistically, the US did put them under the cosh at different times.
Yeah,
England didn't really open them up like I had expected them to do.
No, absolutely not. Andrew's absolutely right. I mean, in one sense, it doesn't mean anything, the result, but they were in control for virtually the entire game. Partially, look, a lot of people straight away launched into an anti-Gareth Southgate diatribe online. Which is what English fans do. There's one defeat, they say he's awful, he's terrible, 6-2 against Iran, and suddenly he's the best manager in the world. But he did stick to exactly the same game plan. And I said beforehand, the USA midfield, just like Andrew Weiser's just said, is a very, very solid midfield. Perhaps not the most creative, but to get through Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, that's a tough midfield there. And Mason Mount is somebody that Gareth Southgate relies on, but he's not the most creative. He's a hard-working presser off the ball, but I genuinely don't see how he is worth his place in the side. Ahead of Phil Foden, for example, how on earth, that boy is stupendously talented. He is the sort of player who would have created problems for the USA because he can play everywhere. But he didn't use them.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, you have to back the manager, and he's done well. He got them to the last time out, and they're still top of the table right now. Isolt, what's your take on it? How happy were you for that draw for America?
It's been an incredibly difficult weekend for our neighbours in the UK, between the English rugby team falling to absolute pieces and a draw, which I think both Andrews have actually hit the nail on the head. The significance of the draw for both sides is actually, despite that it may not have an outcome on the group per se, it may still, is actually the fact that for the US, they can go toe-to-toe. And for England, they get to think about the fact that Harry Maguire was for once probably their best player. And it pains me to say that, and I'm sure it fills Andrew's heart with joy knowing that Harry Maguire has really come good now. But it's very difficult because I think it's a more damaging game for England than it is, like, it's a huge positive for the US. And I think particularly they weren't in the last World Cup. It's a huge result because they're going toe-to-toe and arguably having a much better game. I think for England, the biggest problem with any result they have in the World Cup is not the team morale. It's what goes on online, as Andrew said, because the absolute attacks, and you're going, Gareth Southgate, I don't see him as the problem here. I see he's made some poor choices in terms of players occasionally and not moving players off the field quick enough. But whether it's the weight of expectation of their fans or that they haven't learned anything from the Euros, I am unfortunately, and I think this is how this World Cup is going to go for me, the longer England stay in it, I worry that when they go out, the reaction of fans will be similar to what we saw after the Euros. And that is a genuine concern.
Isolt, listen, we know because we were on the air before the European Championship final last year. Yeah. We literally went off the air just before kickoff, and as it was progressing to penalties, as soon as the penalties started being missed in the final one, I tweeted out and said, "Look, here we go. It's going to be racists all over the place, and people who they'll use very, very gentle racism by doing it, like they're not reliable or they're flair players and all this stuff that just."
But they're not saying about any of the white players in the team.
Yeah, and it was really obvious, and I mean, it just went. And there was people who I still respect them, and I thought that they're not going to go there, but they did, and they did sort of like put these little epithets in the whole. But anyway, want to move very quickly on before we bring in our guest for this evening, or special guest for this evening. Big games tomorrow, okay, because we will speak about Iran in a moment. With big games tomorrow, we've got Cameroon, Serbia, that's the first one. Then you've got South Korea, Ghana, Switzerland, Brazil, and Portugal, Uruguay. Isolt, of those 4 games, which are you going to watch?
I say I always enjoy watching Serbia. They're just such a physical team, and obviously the last game was not really a great reflection of what they can potentially do. But at this point, we're watching every game not knowing which way it will go. So when we have 2 of the teams that I suppose it could actually give each other a real competition, I think it'll be a very physical game, very quick paced. I'll probably watch that. The timing also works well because, let's face it, this World Cup has not been working out well for timings if you're in offices, or I suppose for a lot of people here, it's kids in school wanting to watch games. But I think that's probably be the one I will veer towards tomorrow. And hopefully we'll get some more of the shocking results we've had thus far, because today was an interesting day to say the least, even if anyone else who watched the Japan game, my sympathies, because that was painful. I've watched better Sunday Soccer League matches.
It was not good. For this one, of course, I'm going to go on for Tuesday, of course, because now this is where it is all the potatoes are on the line. I'm going to ask Andreas for this one, Iran, USA.
It's going to be a good one, I think. One thing about the USA throughout qualifying is they really struggle to break down teams that sit in a low block. And they can dominate that midfield, and then what are they doing with it? It's similar to the fact that they're struggling to score goals in the World Cup right now. They just don't have the firepower at the forward position. And so, if Iran comes out and tries to play with them, and then it could be open, and I could see the US get a goal or 2. But if they sit in that low block and then just look to counter it, it's going to be a really long day for the US. And the earlier the goal, the better. If it gets into the second half, late in the second half, and it's still 0-0, it's going to be really, really difficult for us. And so I think that early goal is crucial. The earlier, the better. It'll force Iran out. If Iran wants to go toe-to-toe, they certainly have the talent to do so. And they could do it, but it would also benefit the U.S. So I'm really interested to see kind of what Queiroz does with this, because, he could play it either way, but one way is going to benefit the U.S. more.
Okay, of course, the first game will be a really interesting one because it is a team that's, 2 teams that could still have hopes for progression. Of course, it is Ecuador, Senegal, then Netherlands and Qatar. I mean, Netherlands going to win that anyway. But the final game of the night, the big one, of course, is England and Wales. Andrew Flint, Isolt's nodding her head, but I'm not going to ask her about this because we don't want to get trashed. We're in trouble. Andrew Flint. Can England get over the line there? Because this could be a potential banana skin, even though Wales are absolutely atrocious.
Well, they are absolutely atrocious. So I'm extremely confident in this. But then I was extremely confident before the USA game, and I just didn't think ahead on that one. So Wales have got, they have passion. So they like to tell everybody passion's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to outfoxing, because they've proven that they didn't have enough to outfox Iran or USA. England are not going to be an easy side to beat. And I worry the temptation is that it will be a similar approach to the USA game, where he'll go with his tried and tested lieutenants, and if he thinks, look, this is my best way of avoiding defeat, as opposed to going all out for the win. Technically, that is tournament play. People go into international football expecting the same from club football. That is one of the biggest problems with fan perception of how good a manager actually is. His job is to win, and in a tournament, you do what you have to do to win. If it means resting players, if it means not overexerting yourself, if it means not risking it, then that's what he'll do. I don't think it's going to be a cracker, but Wales are so bad, I genuinely don't think it almost matters. I don't think their passion has even really shone through that much this World Cup. So I'm setting myself for a big fall here, but Wales are so bad, I don't think we will need to worry.
It's fair enough. Lisa says she's ignoring that match, and I'm covering.
I would say one thing about, I don't know if any of you have watched any of the press conferences from the English team in between the games.
No.
I happened to yesterday, I had one on and the TV was actually on silent while I was doing something else at the same time. So the TV was in the background and I had the volume off. The body language is not great. Like I was surprised. I was looking at it and then I was kind of like, will I turn it up or will I keep watching? And I don't know if it's the questions or the reaction they're getting, but at one point Rashford was being interviewed and I don't know, he was responding to questions. He didn't seem aggrieved by the questions, but the body language was, it would be enough to give you concern if you were watching it. And I'm not a body language expert, but you know when someone looks in that frame of mind.
It's not that. Look, just to jump in that, because I do again. It's the media who ruin England. They ruin the.
Oh yeah.
They ruin the view of England. The Fleet Street hacks. They are the ones who turn everybody against them. And then you hear people. I said, like, oh well, like for these Euros, like, or for the last World Cup in 2018, we didn't have many hopes going in. Did you read the front of the Sun, the Mail, and it got worse as the tournament went on? And speaking with guys who are covering it here, even Martin Keown, I was speaking to him in the semi-final with Croatia, and we're chatting, waiting to go to the toilet, and I was like, how are you finding the pressure? And he said, I wish they could be like the Irish media 30 years ago. And I said, or 20 years ago.
Delusionally hopeful?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but he said, like, he hoped.
We do that. They're good at that. Don't worry.
No, because now the Irish media are as bad as the English media. They're rancid. It's horrible how they turn. But anyway, very quickly, because we want to get our guests in as well to discuss more weighty topics. On Wednesday, of course, we have a show Wednesday night. So Tunisia, France, Australia, Denmark, Poland, Argentina, Saudi, Mexico. Okay. Argentina had a great win last night. I'm happy because I tipped them to go all the way. I'll ask you all just one right now. Which game will you watch on Wednesday, Andrew Weiser?
I'm interested in Mexico. I want to see if they can actually get their heads together and rebound from a tough result yesterday. The worst thing that happened to them was that Saudi Arabia beat Argentina, right? Because then Argentina's coming in knowing that they really need to not just win this second game, but really put a stamp on what they want to do in this tournament. And so Mexico ran into a buzzsaw, but that, as much fun as that game should have been yesterday, I think I saw more players on the ground than I did actual football being played. It was atrocious to watch at times, but I really want to see Mexico respond. I want to see Tata Martino and the Mexicans respond. And not because last show I said that they were going to be the farthest progressing CONCACAF team. It has nothing to do with my prediction. I just want to see them actually stand up and play with some pride and get a result here.
Okay, so we're expecting them to do a bit of a Munster and stand up and fight. It is, when you talk about like rolling around the ground, Jurgen Klinsmann would say that that's their culture, but we'll move on from that very quickly. Isla Cody, which one are you going to watch?
I think if you're looking for just easy viewing with lots of goals, Tunisia, France, I think Poland, Argentina, because I think the way Argentina's tournament has started, based on their initial game, I think every game now they're going to be putting on a show. And I think Poland are a tough opposition. I just think that could be an interesting one to watch. Again, I will probably end up watching more of Tunisia and France, because who doesn't love a good goal fest? And secretly, we're all deep down a little bit of a French group of fans, because they're just a stylish bunch of players.
Have you been drinking tonight, Esau? We're all a bit of a French fan. How on earth can you come up with such a
They've got the
ludicrous
best
statement as
players.
that?
Oh,
Who
come
else
on.
other than French people like France in international sport? I mean, really, seriously.
I also enjoy their rugby team. They've just got a bit of flair. There's a bit of style and pizzazz.
But yeah, baby, come on, we can watch Fiji for a bit of flair and pizzazz.
Well, I just think if you want to see goals, easy viewing, and you're guaranteed a result to go the way you think it will go, then a bookie's favourite would be Tunisia and France. But Poland and Argentina will be the best contest, I think.
Andrew Flint, quickly, you're one of those 4 games on Wednesday you're going to watch.
No, Saudi Arabia, Mexico by an absolute country mile for me. Partly because of what Andrew Weiser said, but I've just become absolutely obsessed with Hervé Renard and his team talk and the approach his plays. The players on that pitch, the Saudi Arabia players against Poland, that was, as I called, the most entertaining game yesterday by an absolute mile. They dominated the game, but Poland finished off more efficiently. That's got so much riding on it. Saudi Arabia, Mexico all day long for me.
Okay. And on that note, I'm going to bring into the studio Ruben Joseph. He, of course, is a chief sports writer with the Hindu. Ruben, great to have you back on. Of course, we met face-to-face 4 years ago. Now we're meeting face-to-face, but online 4 years later. And, of course, you met Andrew as well in the studio with us. Ruben, how has the World Cup been for you so far, and how has it been received in India?
Great to meet you again. It's been so long. Nice to see you here. Yeah, it's been fun actually for me and for everyone here also, because we see. I don't know whether you guys know about the kind of passion that India has for football. It's crazy. It's absolutely mental, especially when you talk about states like Kerala and Goa and stuff. It's just those huge posters of Ronaldo, Messi, Neymar everywhere. It's just flags everywhere. The streets are all lined up. So it's crazy. It's like a festival over here, even though India isn't even participating. We're not even close to participating, but it's always a festival even for us, even if we're just, not over here and not attending the World Cup. But yeah, go on.
And for the time of the year, Ruben, how is it playing out in India? Because this, of course, is, it's the start of the soccer season for you in India. It's just kicked off.
Last month, yes. That's the major league, but the smaller leagues keep playing on and off. The ISL, which is the biggest league in India, that started last month, goes on till about March or April. Yeah.
Ruben, the other three can ask you a question. I'll just ask you my final one before we move on. Then they can ask. In terms of the reaction towards the World Cup that has been held in Qatar, have Indians have they any hang-ups about it? Because of course there have been, we know that like Indian migrant workers have died in Qatar. How is the view of that in India?
Oh yeah, it's terribly sad to hear about it, because we have been reading a lot about this, and everybody's well informed about what's going on. We definitely empathize with things that the workers and their families and everything that's happened. So yeah, there has been a lot of criticism, but also at the same time, there's a huge Indian population that works over there, not just the laborers, but also a lot of people in offices and things like that. So one thing I'd like to point out is that, there was a lot of talk at the start of the World Cup about how there were a lot of fake fans, of Argentinian, that Qatari officials were paying Argentinian fans and all of that. But those were actually Indians, and there were a lot of Indians. They just flocked the entire place. And that's how crazy, literally how crazy they are. They are just crazy. I know you talk about Argentinian fans. If you want to talk about the second most passionate fans about Argentina, it's probably the Indians. That's how crazy they are. So and everybody, I think the West was talking about, fake fans and paid fans and all of that. And we were like, wait, those are just us, all Indians over there.
So basically, what you explain, and this is the first time I've actually heard this explained anywhere, is that in what Western media outlets have been saying are fake fans, they're the same as the Irish fans who go to Manchester United, Liverpool, Glasgow Celtic, Glasgow Rangers every week, correct?
Probably.
There you go. We just broke through something here. This is great. Okay, Andrew Flint, have you got something? You've got something to ask Ruben.
Yeah, Ruben, I'm really fascinated by the Indian national team. I've always wondered, why do you believe they have underperformed for a country that is so passionate, has so many resources in terms of facilities, some of the biggest stadiums around? Why do you believe the Indian national team has underperformed for so long? And are you hopeful in the future that they could eventually qualify for the World Cup?
Andrew, if I were to start talking about the Indian national team, it would take hours because it's just a rabbit hole you just don't want to go down through, because it's just so much of administration issues and infrastructural issues, and it's just there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of people really want to take the sport seriously, but once they start into that as a career, after a point, it's just, there's a lot of issues that just haven't been solved at a administration level, at the higher level, whether it's clubs or officials. There's just not after a point we think, okay, maybe we have the know-how or something like that, but then it's just a vicious cycle. One by one things keep happening, and it's just terribly managed. I think that's the bottom line, just terribly managed everything. So hopes and dreams and aspirations are all just crushed at even the junior level when they try and make a career out of it, and it's just not working. But it's a long story.
You want to jump in?
Well, I'm going to firstly congratulate Ruben, because India as a country is after getting one of my favourite Irish sportsmen, and I don't mean Robbie Keane, Bernard Dunn, as the head of your boxing high performance. He's gone there, so you're going to be coming up in the world in boxing, even though you already have had some great female boxers. I suppose you mentioned one thing. In Ireland, I found that this World Cup, the coverage is so much less because we're not involved. And just from what you're saying, obviously Russia's in a different boat, so the guys aren't watching in that sense. And Andrew are enjoying the tournament. But do you think is it on TV the whole time? Is it on mainstream media? Are you getting a lot of coverage? Because here, the games are on, but the coverage isn't huge everywhere. The papers haven't gone with it. Main sports companies are going with other stories, main sports outlets.
You're talking about the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there is absolutely a lot of coverage over here. Everywhere, every newspaper, every channel, everybody's talking about it. And there are a lot of journalists also, Indian journalists over there. Like I'd gone to Russia for 2018. My organization this time has sent somebody, and there's plenty of coverage. And the best part about it this time is that we were getting to watch it for free. Like there's this platform called Geo.
Okay.
They haven't broadcasted a World Cup match or any major sporting event for that matter before. So the first match was actually very bad because it kept lagging and it was a lot of issues were there. So everybody went on Twitter and started really blasting them for that. But then they actually improved it now, and it's absolutely free. You don't need subscription, no number, nothing. So there are probably millions of people watching all over India right now.
That's brilliant. I love that. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, 1.4 billion, correct? Or is it more? 1.4 billion people.
Yeah.
1.4. Andrew Weiss, you want to jump in?
Oh, no, I think, just listening to Ruben talk about that, I think the streaming services is so important to growing the game in places. And in the US, they have a free service to watch all of the replays, but not a free service to watch the games live. And so, even in the US, it's a bit harder. In fact, I'm trying to game plan. I've been on Thanksgiving break here for American Thanksgiving for this whole week. So I've been able to watch 8 hours of football a day, but I go back to work tomorrow. And now I'm struggling to figure out how I'm going to watch these games at the detriment of the education I provide children, because I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to find these games online yet because I don't have a paid service through my laptop yet. So I don't know. I'm about to have to fork out some more money for that, I think.
Football comes first. That's it. Football comes first.
Teach them about
Children
football.
understand.
Teach them about
Yeah.
football, Andrew.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah. Children have a long life. That is true. Actually, Isa mentioned that in Ireland we have all free to wear. Same in the UK.
For
which I
major
think is-
sporting tournaments, and it's so important because
Same in
even
Russia.
people who
It's
can't
all-
afford.
Yeah, it's free to wear. It's very, very good. We have a question in, and then I want to just speak with the situation with Iran, especially regarding Quiros and Klinsmann. Frank Carter asked, if India can make the World Cup since they fixed the association there. They fixed the association because India were banned for a very short time from world football.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion back then, and that was because management association related issues and stuff like that. But I don't know whether we're still all that hopeful because, like I said, this it just keeps happening over and over again. So we say that we fix the association, but I don't really know. It's not really the way it seems to be because there are still unaddressed issues and things like that. So. No, we're not all that hopeful. The association likes to keep saying, every 2 World Cups, they're like, we'll make it to 2030, we'll make it to 2034, we'll make it to 2038. And they keep going on like that. But I don't really know. Not all that hopeful, no.
Okay, so maybe, I don't know, 26, 30, 34, 38, 42 maybe. Let's say 42. 20 years time. Okay, we're going to play a short video, or a couple of short video clips, but we'll be talking in between them. Huge backlash has come about, and mainly aimed at Jurgen Klinsmann and BBC and how they are presenting or how they were commenting on Iran and those regions, and also Guatemala, and this was come from Klinsmann. But it's not just this; has been kind of like fed in every so often. But it started off not well for the Iranian coach when he had a bit of a run-in and he questioned why the BBC were asking questions of his players and not players of other teams. And this is the kind of background to it, and now you see what's happening now.
The BBC's Shaymar Khalil was confronted by Carlos Queiroz, the manager of Iran's national football team, after a World Cup press conference in Qatar. The correspondent had asked footballer Mehdi Taremi for his views on the protests in Iran. Afterwards, Mr. Queiroz asked if it was fair for the player to have been asked a political question.
I ask the pleasure to talk with you.
Absolutely. I'd love to talk to you, but do you not think that it's fair to ask the question?
No, I'm asking one thing to you now.
Yes.
The press conference finished. Don't you think it's fair also to ask other questions to the other coaches? That's the only question I'm making.
Absolutely, but I'm asking an Iranian player about his own
Why
country.
don't ask to the other coaches? Why don't ask Southgate about what do you think about England and the United States, they left Afghanistan and all the women alone? Why don't ask?
This is an Iranian player.
I think you got the point.
Respect.
So the gist of that was that BBC were pushing and asking questions, how can you represent, how can you work in Iran? Are you not embarrassed about it? And so on. He used whataboutery, but what about it? He used whataboutery, but what about it? Why not? And then this continued on. BBC, English media have gone really hard after him. And then this came out. Now, this looks, if you looked at the full clip of it, it's even worse. But the clip we're going to show you is then post Iran-Wales and Jurgen Klinsmann with Gabby Logan and Ian Russian. I forget who the other guy is in the studio as well. But basically, they're having a go at Iran and other countries. In case anyone thinks this is off the cuff, this is just casual kind of discrimination or casual comments. It's not. This was worked out pre-broadcast, and we'll just play it now, and you can think of what you want yourself. In many ways, it's quite harmless, but another way, it's this continued attack on others.
In terms of their attitude to the game and their, let's call it gamesmanship, you can call it something else at home if you like, and they did just that, and they just stayed on the right side of the law. For the referee, in another game, they might not have done.
Yeah, that's their culture, that's their way of doing it, and that's why Carlos Queiroz, he fits really well. Iranian national team, and he struggled in South America. He failed with Colombia to qualify, then he failed with Egypt to qualify as well, and then he went back right before the World Cup now and guided Iran, where he worked already for a long time. So this is not by coincidence. This is all purposely. This is just part of their culture. That's how they play it. And they work the referee. You saw the bench always jumping off, always working the fourth the linesman and the fourth referee on the sideline.
Constantly in their ear.
Constantly in their ears. They're constantly in your face on the field. I mean, Kiefer Moore probably will tell you lots of stories after this game today. He had a lot of little incidents that we did not even see out here. This is their culture, and they kind of make you lose your focus. They make you lose your concentration and what's really important to you. And then they take you off.
The European rep would have been different.
Big difference with another referee, the Guatemalan referee, and I've worked for the US for 6 years. They went to Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, and this fits their culture.
It's the nature,
basically.
isn't it? You know,
yeah, they kind of work it out. They have 5 people around them. They talk it out.
The linesman was from Wales. Well, his name was Wales, but he's from Trinidad and Tobago. But that didn't work for them.
So let's say it did not play in the hands of Wales.
Just a minute before.
Gabby Logan, the presenter, she set it up. She set it up that you can call it what you want at home. So it was basically a direct shot. Going to Andrew Wizard straight away with this one. We all talk about other countries. We speak about, like, you know, the diving Spaniards or the cheating this and cheating this. This is normal. We talk about it. But it really went maybe a little bit too far and kind of very targeted as well, Andrew.
Yeah, I cringed a little listening to him, but I've cringed a little listening to him for quite a long time when he coached the U.S. as well. Jurgen is really good at speaking off the cuff and speaking what he feels, but he's not always politically correct in the things that he says. I can see what he's getting at, and I think we all can see what he's getting at there, but the way that he just said it's their culture over and over and over, I did cringe a little at that, and I think, you know, there's lots of sides that will try to get the other side off of their game, and it's what they do, and it's how they play, and it's effective a lot of times. But it's not really their national culture, is it? And so he could have been a bit more targeted in what he was trying to say. But yeah, it was pretty cringy.
Yeah, I mean, especially going from Jurgen as well. Isolt, you signed him for Spurs. Are you proud of yourself?
Okay, I'm no one's going to agree with me, so I'm going to go on my own one here. I wonder, I think the choice of word culture is very poor. But put it this way, if he was on a rugby show and he was discussing New Zealand rugby 5 years ago and he kept saying the culture is to crowd in at the referee, to get in their ear, to start pushing other players back so they're the ones up talking, that they will do things underhand in a game, or like you'd say in boxing when you have a fighter who like knows the dark arts, and the same with rugby, then I think we'd all go, okay, he's just describing the teams thing. And I wonder, are we so convinced that everyone is prejudiced against Iran that we're viewing it into this more than it is there? Now, I don't agree with how he described it. I think it was a poor choice of words and the constant references to culture. But I wonder if he was describing another team and using the word culture, would we all suddenly be looking the other way and going, oh, no. Like, I just think we could describe other teams in similar terms as being, and it wouldn't be viewed in the same way, because I think we look to see that someone is discriminating in certain contexts.
He would have said the exact same about the Argentina-Mexico game. He would have said the exact same thing about that game.
But this is when you mentioned it about the diving and so on. I did say that Jurgen Klinsmann, this is a parallel to that.
And he also does not like the manager, which leads to that. Like,
that's
it's
it.
like, I think he just hates him.
Ruben, do you think like there's been some awful views and kind of a lot of what we would call, and we discussed it here, this like virtue signaling going on. How has that been viewed in India, especially from sports media in India? Like what do you guys make of it? Do you think it's kind of we're all going a bit crazy or something?
I don't think there's been, I mean, we've covered the story. There have been people that have spoken about it. And I mean, this general coverage about Klinsmann's comments. The only thing I'm wondering is I don't know enough about what Klinsmann did in the US or what the background behind it or his hatred for the coach or whatever. But the way I see it, I just like was mentioned, probably just poor choice of words. We'd say the same thing about probably in Diego Simeone's team with Atletico Madrid or the Argentinian side. We keep talking about how they're very dirty, how they're very whatever. It's just like that. Maybe Klinsmann didn't use the proper word. Maybe he shouldn't have said culture. Maybe he should have just spoken about how, or maybe what he was talking about is the team culture rather than the national culture.
Exactly.
So, I don't really. There have been a lot of Indian journalists on Twitter who have said that it sounds racist and things like that, and he should resign. When I saw the video and the reactions, I think going by Queiroz' comments, I think Queiroz knows what he means. I don't know, probably because they have some history or something like that. But on looking at it as it is, it just seems like, poor choice of words.
Yeah, it is. We'll come to Andrew Clinton now with this, because of course it is one of the things that when I saw it and then I heard it, thinking, oh God, that's really, really dumb. What's worrying is he is on the technical group. So he is actually there with Arsene Wenger reviewing the World Cup and reviewing teams and so on. And he's speaking with teams like that. I'm thinking he's already biased. And when he brought in, Guatemala referees, that's what they do. Like that's normal. It's like they like a bit of drama. But I do think, again, it comes back to the presenter put the words in his mouth, and she kept pushing. So this is where the BBC comes in. They have their talking points, they go through it. Andrew, I mean, was it harmless kind of discrimination, or was it just kind of not a very clever person?
I think it was opportunistic. If you actually look at how the Iranian players reacted in this game, they did not cover themselves in glory, especially the Wayne Hennessy decision, which quite rightly he should have been sent off. But it was a little bit concerning. I was always concerned for the safety of the referee at one point, but they really were incredibly aggressive around him. Now, just to use what the kids say nowadays, whataboutery, a lot of teams do this. Manchester United were famous for it throughout the 1990s, amongst millions of other teams as well. I think choice of words, just as Ruben says, I think that was a really, really well worded opinion. Ruben said the choice of words was the main problem. When you say culture, and Jurgen Klinsmann has enough command of the English language, he knows full well what impact the word culture is going to have. So I think his choice of words is the problem. The actual opinion is backed up by how they reacted on the day, but he didn't say today they acted like this, or the moment got to them. He honed in, like you say, it was set up to hone in on the background. This is where it's come from. This is who they are as people. That was a really problematic thing. I don't believe it was a racist comment, simply because I don't believe it is only Iran that it is said about. But in the atmosphere of the moment right now, and especially, let's also not forget the fact how Iranian players have been protesting, and with real consequences on the line, unlike the England virtue signalers. That was an opportunity for them to get an easy target, because hang on a minute, they're the ones in the news, they're protesting, they are a protesting type of people. Let's just extrapolate it into them being dramatic in a way that they shouldn't behave. It's not part of the Iranian culture. The Iranian culture is a very
ancient,
fiercely fought sort of culture, but not a play acting sort of culture. I mean, it was a wrong opinion, and I don't think the choice of words was right. But I also don't think it was inherently racist either. It was poorly chosen, set up, like you say, by the presenter.
I would just say one thing. I think if a presenter had been trying to save him in that situation and was listening to what was said, the easy thing for her to have said back to him at any point, because I was practically screaming it in my head the first time I saw it, was to turn around and say, you mean their football culture? And that one question, and you're done. That is everything sorted, but she didn't. And that's a concern.
She didn't have that in her notes. And again, this is what I'm saying. I've already spoken with BBC journalists about this, and they're saying, no, this is set up. It's unfortunately the way that it's a narrative that they're trying to portray. in terms of Jurgen, Andrew Weisel knows him better, especially from coaching the USA and playing the USA as well. Of course, he also was no angel, and this is something that got him to a World Cup winners medal. So enjoy Jurgen for just 1 moment.
Неожиданный пас назад, под удар Бремя, от слета поворотов трудом. И он, кстати, очень сильно поднял футбол. Красная карточка. Да, удаление. Посмотри, что он там натворил. То есть призывает всех судей. Товарищи, смотрите, что устроил здесь таким грубым приемом. Я арбитра. Близости от ворот. Вперед, опасный момент. Фёллер с мячом. Арбитр. Так, сейчас вот еще вторая появится. Выбил мяч, дотянулся в подкате. Ну, эпизод действительно очень сложный, чтобы окончательно разобраться в этом игровом эпизоде. Здесь я полностью согласен. Тем, что отбивал. Сейчас удар, гол. Сборная Сергея выходит.
Germany, or West Germany as they were then, they went on to win the World Cup 1-0 with that goal by Andy Bremer in the 85th minute after Monzon had been sent off in the 73rd. The first dive we saw was one of Jurgen's teammates. The second one, of course, was him when he acrobatically flicked himself around the field, and he got up and played on. Of course, there's nothing wrong with him. And then the final dive for the penalty. There you go. Sometimes I always revert to let's just say Latin, and ogni swa chi male pons means evil do those who evil think. So if you think evil of others, you do that yourself, and we see enough of that in the modern world. Before we go away, we've got one more quick video, but the game's going to kick off very, very shortly. We do have another comment in. Thank you to our friends and Verona saying, love this show. You guys talk sense, so fair. I'm not going to come out correct. I'm going to get my kind of English language hat off for a moment. So yeah, we are fair. We have, of course, one game tonight. It's a big one. It is Spain and Germany. Ruben, I'm going to go to you right away. Kicking off in just over 15 minutes. Spain, Germany. What's your take on it, and who do you think is going to come out on top?
I'm going with Spain all the way because I was really impressed with their first game, and Germany weren't really good at all in their first game. So I think Spain are going to. Because they look so fluid and so good now. It reminds us of what we saw in 2010, but also so many more goals, and we it was that we love all these goals. We love to watch more and more goals. So I'm going with Spain, and I think it's probably going to be like a 3-1 or something like that.
Oh, okay. Isla Cody.
I'm also going with Spain. I think Germany just look kind of like England, which is never a good thing to say about any team. No, I just think Germany have come in looking a bit flat, and Spain kind of have come in like a team who no one is actually talking about or weren't pre-tournament, which is always a good way to come in. They've looked good, they've looked stylish, fluid, all the things you want from a Spanish team, and they have a lot of flair. So I would hope tonight will be a good game, and I would think we may even get to see something like 3-1, maybe 3-2, because I think the Germans will come out fired up.
Okay, so as Rube said, 3-1, 3-2, so 3 goals. And again, you just basically discriminate against Spain by calling them flair. So you include this flair, so there we go. But that's
part of their culture.
Again,
in all senses. They've got flair on and off the field.
Be careful.
I'm telling you, I know myself, when I talk about different teams in GAA, like at home in Ireland, we say scumbags, dirtbirds, tramps.
Stop describing Tipperary and those bad terms that continue on.
You were.
I slammed an entire race of people in Ireland just calling them
when we
cheats.
say something complimentary, people don't mind.
Yeah, that's true. Andrew, how about you? What is? Or actually, no, Andrew Flynn. Sorry, I'll go to you first. So, who are you tipping for tonight?
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but definitely Germany. I think the way Spain coasted through against Costa Rica, it played into their ego. They love to be the ones that control. They had over 1,000 passes, whatever it was. Germany have a point to prove. And when Germany have a point to prove, they are one of the most dangerous teams around. I get a feeling they're going to turn Spain over efficiently. We're going into football culture stereotypes again, aren't we? But no, in all seriousness, I do think Germany are going to win this one, which is going to leave the last match day absolutely insanely crazy with all of them on 3 points. I guess there's part of me that wants that to happen, which is why I'm saying Germany. But I do believe they've got the stronger mentality.
Okay, that Anglo-Saxon strong mentality. The kind of we get where you're coming from. Andrew, what is it? Who are you?
I go back to 2018, right, where Germany underperformed in that first game against Mexico, and then they turned around and they turned on the style against Sweden. And I kind of see that same thing. Now, let's not talk about the fact that they then laid an egg against South Korea in match day 3. But I really see that Germany's going to come out and they're going to be a lot better. They were quite pedestrian in that first game, but I think that they have so much pride in what they do and what they think they are, that I really see them coming out and playing really well. I think they're gonna counter the Spanish short passing by spreading it out. Mueller is playing up top by himself, and you can tell, they're going to spread it out. You don't just play it into him and hope he does everything. That's not his style. And so they're going to spread it out and try and run at Spain. And I kind of tip them to win this game.
That's 2-4-2 against. I'm going to go for a draw. I'm sitting on the fence. I'm fine. I'm sitting on the fence. Going to go for a draw.
Get off the fence, Ali. Get off the fence.
You get splinters.
Yeah,
you will.
Andrew, you were at that game in Luzhniki, the Germany-Mexico game.
I did, yeah. I was there, and they got played off the field in that game for sure. Yeah. But then they were definitely the better side against Sweden in that second game, and they're no slouch side, are they? And so, I of course, you're going to make me choose, I think, because I can't sit the fence like you. I don't want to be ridiculed like you just were. So I'm gonna hold with Germany here.
All right. Ruben, did you get the Germany-Mexico game, or were you out of Moscow already?
Yeah, I was there too for that, and that was fun to watch because everybody expected Germany to do so well, and it was really fun. But I just like to add that, I like how South Korea was the banana skin in that group over there for Germany, and now how so many Asian teams are now proving to be not just also Rans or these whipping boys, but they're banana skills for all the big teams.
It's great. It's great, and maybe Qatar could do it tomorrow as well. I just want to mention just this. Andrew Weiser has you see his luxurious moustache. He is raising funds for Movember. Andrew, quickly tell us what are you doing and what's the money going towards?
Yeah, so the Movember Foundation is a foundation that raises funds for prostate cancer, testicular cancer awareness. And they have loads of resources for people that are fighting those diseases as well. But then they also focus on men's mental health. And so this is my 13th year growing a glorious mustache. I'm much better at it now than I was 13 years ago, though. And, but so every November, I grow this mustache, and it's helping to raise awareness and get people to talk about things that normally aren't talked about.
Listen, it's always worthwhile. It's scrolling across the screen there that you can check out and then contribute as well. Before we go away, I want to ask you all, okay? So think about it and ask, were any yellow cards were given for this? And if they were, how many?
Так вот, ввел мяч в игру Максименко, и Москалев дал свисток. Друзья, мы никуда не уходим. Так, кстати, там потасовка.
Опять Родригау промис, это драка стенка на стенку у нас.
Ой-ой-ой-ой, Родригау ногой прям бьет, и еще удар. Ничего себе!
Ой, ничего ведь это не предвещало, да, Саш?
Да, совершенно верно, но тут настоящее рукоприкладство идет со стороны игроков.
Сейчас все в этом участвуют, и одна скамейка, и другая. Зенитовская и Спартаковская в роли миротворцев предлагает тренера выступать. Участвует и служба охраны, уже все тут сбежались, кто может.
Да, в общем...
Что же там произошло-то, а?
Очень долго держали себя в руках игроки, и в конце окончательно уже распоясались. Так, нужно подниматься.
Что сейчас будет, да? Вот
интересно. Вытащили из-под этой кучи малы.
Okay, Ruben, how many red cards were given?
Is it part of their culture?
Oh, go. No, do not go there. No.
I'm guessing probably 5-6 red cards.
Okay, Andrew Weiser.
I actually know the answer because I was following the game. That's my sickness of Russian football that still hangs with me, even though I'm in the US. So I can't answer that. But oh my goodness, that was absolutely ridiculous.
Isel, that was like a schmozzle in a lady.
I was about to say it's a wee bit of a schmozzle, maybe a melee in parts.
Yeah.
So Irish words for when things get a bit out of hand and people should probably get red cards, and instead everyone goes, sure, it's grand. Look at them, they're passionate. They're passionate. I'm going to give, I think if we're being really harsh on the players, because it clearly just got a little out of hand, I would give 2 red cards, maybe a few yellows, but I'm going to go with 2. I just don't think you can't punish players for when these things get out of hand. Clearly it was the sideline that were at fault.
Didn't he already show the red card to 2-3 players?
Say again, Ruben?
No, didn't he already show the red card to 2-3 players? We could see that.
I think during it.
He didn't worry about the red card in the middle of a fight. What does he expect is going to happen?
I was distracted by the dog eating things beside him.
Isel, just
innocent face.
Show what she was doing.
Nice.
Oh my.
Nala, come on, you've got guilt written all over your face there.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, there was 6 red cards shown in that. Zenit went on to win 4-2 on penalties. Madness. The one thing I didn't like was when Nicholas Kamili kicked another player. That annoyed me. Punch him.
Roy Keane-esque.
Yeah. Keane-esque.
You don't like Roy.
No.
A slap at best.
It's okay. So on that note, we're going to go away. We'll be back on Wednesday evening again. I'm going to say thank you very much, Isel Cody, Andrew Weisler, Andrew Flint, and Ruben Joseph. Thank you so much, because it's very late at night. It's after midnight in India at the moment.
Yes, 12:30, but everybody's going to watch the match anyway.
There we go. Okay, listen, thank you all very, very much, and catch up with everyone, fingers crossed, on Wednesday. So 2 for Germany, 2 for Spain. I'm going on the bench.
Splinters for Alan.
Yeah. And on that note, say thank you very, very much, and have a lovely Sunday, rest of your Sunday night. And of course, enjoy the absolute whopper of matches coming up between Spain and Germany. We have 2 going for, 2 against. I am staying on the fence. So I'm Alan Moore saying take care of yourselves and each other.